Okay, by request, I'm going to let you see the under the hood shot of the Mugen MBX6R. This has had a couple weeks of break-in and a good solid 3.5 to 4 hour track day, and a couple things that had to be done after the shakedown run. One user requested that they see the fuel line routing, and I know that kind of bugged me at first too, so I know that others will appreciate seeing the way I've actually had to run the fuel line, and this has actually been the result of having a problem on the track. I actually had the flywheel completely cut through my pressure line, and originally what had happened is I ran the pressure line underneath the muffler with the Mugen tie-down grommets that go underneath the muffler that attach to the mud guard. And I can tell you that's not a real good way to run it for two reasons. Number one is it's just too tight back here with a flywheel. The loop that I had in there was a generous loop, and it obviously got sucked right in the flywheel, and I had all sorts of problems with the motor flaming out and running lean. What I ended up doing is deciding to pull the muffler off, reevaluate things, take the Mugen grommet off the mud guard, and after looking around the internet and seeing different setups, I just decided to go ahead and run everything above ground, so to speak. I know that a lot of people have had problems with these clamps holding to the tank. So basically what I did is I took denatured alcohol and I scoured the tank really well, and then I gave it a scuffing with a Dremel tool and scuffed the surfaces, mating surfaces, both of the clamp and the tank. Got it nice and clean with alcohol once again, and then I just used CA glue. A generous amount of CA glue, held it down for a little bit, and you know, it's had a couple shakedown laps out here in the street. It'll probably hold, but if it doesn't, I'll address it when it comes. The other thing I did is I had a very large generous loop that went around the front post up here. I see some people do that. There's two schools of thought. One is that the fuel will last longer when you invert. The other thought is that it just gives you longer run time. Either way, I didn't see it being a problem. At the sacrifice of having more fuel line problems, I just decided to go ahead and give it a haircut. I like the routing here. It's very clean and it's simple. I also went to the Mugen fuel line and the aftermarket fuel line. It just gives me a little differentiation of color. It's no big deal, but it seemed like it helped out a little bit just for clarification purposes when I do a pinch test. It's just nice. It was a kind of just what I had to do out of necessity, but it turned out to be really good. The other thing is a couple modifications here that that I did, which is the I think it's a 41030 pipe. It's the compact long made for Mugen, as well as the 9853 pipe. They both work fantastic. This doesn't have to be heat shielded. I have no problem at all. It ran 4 hours, like I said, and you can see here that the gravel guard is right up against the pipe. There's no melting whatsoever. The back manifold housing here is actually almost resting on the actual mud guard. Again, it's not a problem either, so don't worry about it as far as I'm concerned. Now the bonus section. Let me just blast through a couple things that I learned either during setup or predominantly out of the track. First of all, stem to stern, I would Loctite every metal on metal connection, case closed, whether the manual says to or not. I actually lost a bearing off my steering servo saver. The 312 screw came out, the bearing came out. Don't ask me how. There's a lot of flex in this body, and it just was able to get enough clearance to pop out. The other thing is that you'll want to do is give yourself a good relief on your body ports. Give a good oblong hole, because this body flexes so much that it's going to break your body, and if you give it some good liberal holes, it won't put as much stress on the body. The other thing is this battery box and receiver box is a mess. This seam right along here is wide open. I had a whole pile full of dirt and dust in that box at the end of a 3-hour run. Not good medicine. So instead what I did is I put some silicone in there. It looks terrible, but I can't stand having that box open to the elements, getting moisture in there and dust worse. So hopefully that'll seal up for next time. Aside from that, nothing else major. I'm extremely happy with the overall quality and the way the box was set up.